A very warm welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 21st March 2020. Day is Saturday. On our table, we have total 5 articles. First one is this one. This one is from yesterday's newspaper, Giving Human Rights Commissions More Teeth. One of the most important article of the day, right? I am going to analyze this one in detail. There are so many things that we are going to learn from this article. So, number one priority is this one. Then we have 2 articles. One is this one, the missing notes. This one is talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address to the nation on this Janta curfew. And this article is talking about basically the things that were missing in this address of Prime Minister. So what are the things that government can do? So we can find those steps in this article here. So basically these 2 articles are connected with each other. The fourth one is going to be this one, crime and punishment. It's about this Nirbhaya case. And there are a few things that we need to talk on this crime that we find against women in our society. The fifth one, this one I'm not going to explain it to you because this article is important, of course, right? I want you guys to read it at least once. But the reason I'm not explaining this one is because you will find a very interesting story about, it's an old story, right? It's written by a famous writer, and this article is giving us a brief about that story. So already that big story is in a very brief form in this article, and if I explain it to you, it's going to be, even a short version. So that will take away the charm from the whole story. So do go through it. It's about a sort of pandemic and how or what are the things that we need to do. It's more about human side, right? About fraternity, about cooperation and things like that. So there are so many things that we can learn from this story, and I'm sure you will learn so many things. But for that, you have to read it and you have to think about it as well. When I say read, I don't mean to say you just go through the lines. I want you guys to take a pause. I want you guys to think about it, to use your imagination, and this is how you will develop your comprehension skills as well as your analytical skill. So 4 articles that I am going to explain it to you. So let's move on. But before that, dear friends, our pen drive and tablet courses are available for various different competitive exams. You can purchase them from StudyIQ.com. They are our paid premium courses, and with the help of our pen drive and tablet courses, there are thousands of students out there. They have cracked various different competitive exams. You can do the same. If you have any queries, doubts regarding it, feel free and give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. To download the PDF of today's lecture, check out my Telegram channel. If you want to get in touch with me, then you can send me your message or messages on FB. Share this lecture with other students. I want to make it a bit bigger, right? I want more guys more students to watch this English version, particularly students from South India and Northeast, right? There are so many students, they are not aware about this English version of the Hindu analysis. And there are so many students, right? Or not students, but there are like curious citizens. They follow this English series for various different, some of them, they like to get all this latest updates in a much more in-depth fashion. Some of them are watching this for improving their listening skills and English and things. So I want you guys to please share this lecture. If you have learned something from today's discussion, please don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So let's talk about Human Rights Commission. Now, back in 1993, Indian Parliament came out with this law called Protection of Human Rights Act. Now, one of the main purpose of this law is to establish an institutional framework that could effectively protect, promote and fulfill the fundamental rights that are guaranteed by our Indian Constitution. As we all know that our Indian Constitution guarantees us few fundamental rights. And this is your first question. Question number 1, how many rights do we have in our Constitution, fundamental rights, right? Our Constitution gives us how many fundamental rights? So this is your first question. I don't want that digit 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, I'm not asking for a digit. I want you guys to properly, like first right is this one, second right, third right. In that way, you have to provide your answer in the comment section, and I want all of you to take part in these questions. It's very important. How it will work or how it will help you is that I'm sure many of you are not aware about, you know that there are fundamental rights, but you don't know exactly how many rights we have or the name of those rights. So with this exercise, with this question, you have to open your books, or you will go online, do a little bit of research, then you will collect your answers, and then you will post your answers. So this whole process, right, is an opportunity for you guys to get yourself familiarized with this fundamental rights. And if I would be at your place, or if I would be in your position, then what I would do is I would take out 30-40 minutes and I will go through all the fundamental rights. Even if I know, then I will quickly glance it. I'll take out 15 minutes. If I'm very familiar with fundamental rights, then as well this is an opportunity. Like I will take out 10 minutes and I'll quickly scan them so that I can revise them, right? So this is how you prepare, right? Sometimes you have to walk that extra mile, and all this extra efforts, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes efforts will add up. These are all grooming opportunities. Anyway, moving on. So this Protection of Human Rights Act, main purpose to promote, protect and fulfill the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. And so this Protection of Human Rights Act came out with this, or it created, basically, this act created two stages, or I would say two branches. The first one is National Human Rights Commission at national level, and then we have Human Rights Commissions at the levels of various different states. Or put it in this way, State Human Rights Commission. We have one at central level, national level, and the other one is at our state level. Now, earlier on, we have already talked about this pillars of our democracy. Remember? So, generally, classical account is that we have three branches, or you can say it's like a tripod. You know, the tripod for your camera and other things. We have this tripod where we have three legs. So, the first leg of our democracy is legislature. The second one is executive, and the third one is judiciary. I'm sure you are familiar with all these three branches, so I'm not throwing more light on this thing. But there is a fourth one as well, and we need fourth one because of this complexity of governance and administration in modern world, and because of the new challenges that we find in our modern world, the things that we are learning every day, the experience as a society, as a country, as a nation, as a region. We are learning so many things. Isn't it? New things are happening every single day in various different parts of our country or our world. So basically, this new challenges, this modern world is presenting, or it's bringing new opportunities and threats. And for that, to tackle those threats and to grab those opportunities, we need a fourth pillar, or you can say fourth leg as well. And that is that's what this fourth branch institutions. That's a you can say, or let me put it this way. Let's imagine a table, right? First of all, we used to have this tripod, but now we need a more balanced thing. So what we will do is we will place a table, right? Table has four legs, and it's considered more weight distribution is a bit better when you have a proper table with four legs. So the fourth branch or the fourth leg is this institutions, this autonomous institutions, this independent bodies. Now, if we go through our constitution, we find some constitutional bodies. They are part of this fourth branch. For example, Election Commission of India. As you all know, the important role that ECI has played in maturing our democracy. Then we have Controller and Auditor General, CAG, again a constitutional body. But it's not all about constitutional body. We have some important bodies, and you know, their birth took place from these laws that were passed by our parliament. For example, Central Bureau of Investigation. Then you have Information Commission, Info Commission. Let me put it in short form, Info Commission. RTI gave birth to Information Commission. Then you have this Human Rights Commission, this Protection of Human Rights Act. This one gave birth to this Human Rights Commission. So we need this fourth leg. Now, if we go through this roughly 25, 27 years of this Human Rights Commission's life, then we find, if we scrutinize it, if we analyze it, then we find some negative, or I would say some points. We need to repair these points. For example, these commissions, or there is a blame that these commissions are not autonomous anymore. There is a touch of politics in these institutions. Or this particular, we are talking about this Human Rights Commission here, right? HRC. When I say this, or when I say it, I'm talking about this human rights commissions at central as well as state level. It is also blamed that they are selective. They will get active only on certain types of cases. And there are so many cases in which they are deactive, or they don't really care. And the third one is, and this is one of the most important one, that human rights commissions are toothless. They are paper tiger, right? They are all about barking and no biting. Now, at the highest level, they play an advisory role, with the government left free to disobey or even disregard their findings. So what we can do about it? We are going to talk about it as well, right? There are a few things. Step by step, I will take you through the problems, as well as why we have this sort of problems and what are possible solution for it, and what's going on in our country. So the main you can say action of this, or the results, or basically Human Rights Commission, they can advise. Their main job at present is advisory. So they will advise, they will recommend government. Now government, it's up to government. Government can reject or can accept or can do nothing about it. Government can disobey the recommendations of Human Rights Commission, and nothing will happen. And this is the main reason why we have a very important case that is going on in this Madras High Court. A full bench of High Court will be deciding upon whether the recommendations, this is the most important word in this article, recommendation, right? Whether we need to, what is the meaning of this recommendation? Should the government, state government or central government, should follow, or it has to mandatorily follow the things that are said in these recommendations? This is a big question. Now, under the Protection of Human Rights Act, the Human Rights Commissions are empowered to inquire into the violations of human rights committed by the state authorities, either upon petitions presented to them, or they can take initiative as well. They, upon their own initiative, like suo motu. Now, one of the most important point in this article is this one, that while conducting, if something is not right, let's say if human beings or an individual's human rights are violated by state authorities, then Human Rights Commission, under this Protection of Human Rights Act, has all the powers to conduct a thorough inquiry. And this inquiries, right, while conducting this inquiries, the commissions are granted identical powers to that of civil court. And most important point of the day, right, of this article, that the commissions are granted identical powers of the civil courts, such as examining witnesses, ordering for documents, receiving evidence, and so on. And these proceedings are deemed to be judicial proceedings, and they require that any person who may be prejudicially affected by their outcome has the right to be heard as well. So if the whole process, if this whole inquiry is parallel, or it is identical or similar to what happens in civil court, then of course it is a judicial proceeding. And the result that will come out, if you are not happy with something, then of course you can challenge it in other courts or higher courts. So first of all, the method is just like civil court. So if civil courts recommendations, or if civil court, not recommendations, but if civil courts judgments are mandatory, or when I say mandatory, I mean to say they are you are bound by it. If civil court will send someone, let's say, behind the bars for like 5 years, then you cannot say that, you cannot argue about it. You know that it has given you a punishment. You have to follow it. Yes, if you are not happy about it, you can go to higher courts. You have that option, but you will go behind the bar, isn't it? If civil court has ordered against you, or whatever, not just behind the bar, but maybe you have to pay a fine, for example. So the controversy before the Madras High Court stems from the issue of what is to be done after the Human Rights Commission completes its inquiry and reaches a conclusion that human rights have been violated. This is the most important thing, because what happens is that this commission will recommend, under this section 18 of this Protection of Human Rights Act, the commission will recommend that either the state should grant compensation or initiate prosecution against the erring state authorities to grant interim relief, to take various other steps. And again, as I told you, the main question here is what is the meaning of these recommendations? Because you can conduct an inquiry, your inquiry is going to be as legit as civil court's inquiry. Then you will pass your recommendations or your findings to the state government, and now it depends on the state government whether it can follow it or not. So that is the big question here. What is exact meaning of recommendations? Is it recommendation is something that we take in our normal life? The answer is no, because normal life, when I say normal, I mean to say our common life, generally speaking, we say in our general life, there are so many things that we use, so many words that we write and speak and listen. But when it comes to legal context, you have to go a bit deeper. You have to dig a bit deeper when it comes to understanding the meaning or comprehending the meaning of that particular word. I have some examples as well for you guys. Now, the full bench of Madras High Court is hearing the case because different smaller benches have come to opposite conclusions. And that's the problem. Like, some courts have said that recommendation means government should follow it, right? There is no other option. Government should execute what the court has said or this commission has said. Some of them have said that it's just a recommendation, so it's just like a suggestion, and a suggestion is not binding. So hopefully this Madras High Court's full bench will solve this problem once and for all. And furthermore, Section 18 of this HR Act has also said that within a month the government has to get back to the Human Rights Commission. Like, say for example, if Tamil Nadu's Human Rights Commission has said something to the government of Tamil Nadu, then within a month's time the government has to reply to the commission that this action is taken or this action is not taken, or there is no need to take any action. Whatever the decision of government is, it has to report it back to commission. So this is more like exchanging papers, rather than there is, if means we cannot see any sort of results on the ground, right? Doing an inquiry, recommending, and then government doing nothing about it, and then that's it, chapter over. So this is not protection of human rights. If something is not right, then it should have power to force government, or government should be bound by the findings. Now, as far as these words are concerned, right, in normal life and legal framework, I have two examples. Consultation. Earlier on in our constitution, there was this word consultation. So when it comes to appointing Supreme Court judges, the president will, let's say, consult with the Chief Justice of India. Now, this consultation was earlier considered that you will consult. You will say this one is okay, then you say yes or no, then finally president will decide yes or no. Because it was just, president was just consulting you. But Supreme Court said that no, consultation means not just asking. Consultation means concurrence. So if CJI is saying that this name is not right, then that name is not right. You should take it that way. And this is the whole basis of this collegium system. And this makes this collegium independent from the control of government. Then we have this word and. Normally we say that Hiren and Shushmita, for example, they were going out or had their dinner, etc. Under this Land Acquisition Act, the Apex Court held that the word and in a provision had to be construed as or. So the whole meaning will change. Or, right? It's and should be taken as or. So the human rights commissions are the bodies that stand between individuals and the state, as we know. And, this, if we go back in the history of Central Bureau of Investigation, if we go back in the history of Election Commission, then we find that Supreme Court laid down detailed guidelines to ensure the independence of CBI. Various judgments have endorsed and strengthened the power of Election Commission. So in the same way, we need to add more powers, more teeth to our Human Rights Commission. And it is important. This is again my opinion, and that's what the opinion of this government. This article is also that we need to add more teeth. We need to make this because this whole thing works as a civil court, right? The powers of a civil court when it comes to inquiry and proceedings. So, and you find retired judges are head of this human rights commissions. So they are well experienced. So we should, government should follow the recommendations. They should be bound these recommendations or I would say rather than judgments of this Human Rights Commission should be bound on central as well as state governments. So one of the most important article. Now let's crack on to second one, the missing notes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the nation last Thursday about what people should do. He talked about this Janta curfew, and Sunday is going to be Janta curfew, and I'm sure all of us are going to follow it as well. It is very important that we break this chain of this coronavirus. It's very important. I'm sure you might have watched videos as well as so many things on your WhatsApp and other places. Stay away from rumor. That is one of the most important thing. And there are official awareness campaigns are going on. So make sure and I'm sure if you are following Hindu analysis and other videos of StudyIQ, then you are well aware about what are the things that you should do and don'ts and do's and don'ts, right? So this Janta curfew is basically, I would say, a first step. Things are not that bad at present, but we don't want to try them as well. So it's better that for now we follow our authorities. Let's keep a sort of Janta curfew for the full day. And if required, it will prepare us for future as well. In case if things go out of control, then we can. The government is, it's going to be like a sort of a drill for our nation. Right, it's a mock drill, but we should take it very seriously. The Prime Minister also held conference with other Chief Minister, of course, via video calling, and states are fighting at the forefront. They are the ones doing everything at grassroots level. One of the most important thing that we need to do and thing that has worked is this one: social distancing. It's one of the most important thing. I have one example of Italy. Italy was having just 20 cases, but within a month, the cases were up to 40,000. So the mistakes that these countries have made, we should not repeat them. It is very important that we follow our authorities. Whatever experience we have learned, whatever things that we have learned from past few weeks from various different parts of the world, we need to implement those things, and we can do it, right? Because fortunately for our country, unfortunately for Italy, Spain, Germany, France, China, other countries, Iran, they were not having that many, they were not that experienced with this thing. But we know, and the whole world, we can learn so many things from the mistakes that are conducted by these countries. So we should not repeat those mistakes, and that is the most important thing. And this article is basically criticizing, or it's not happy with this elaboration, because government has said, Prime Minister has said what people should do. But what about the government? What government is doing about it? So we can find answers about this thing from this article. Blunting the economic impact of a pandemic. Like task force is created, and this task force will be headed by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharamanji. This task force will, This task force will assess the economic impact of the pandemic and suggestive palliative measures. So in this article, we find some measures. Like the first one is cash transfers. Like there are so many people like cab drivers, restaurant waiters, people working in casual jobs. They basically get money based on their day's job. So if you work 5 days, you get money for 5 days. If you work 20 days, you get money for 20 days. If you work 30 days, then you will get money for your 30 days work. So casual job workers, right, they would require some sort of cash transfer, and we can do this cash transfer via Jan Dhan accounts. We have National Food Security Portal, under which we have this we have this PDS system, isn't it? This ration shops. We have 23.53 ration cards in the country, according to National Food Security Portal. So we know the details of this people, and we can supply them food and money via PDS. The best is going to be this digital transfer or this direct benefit transfer. Hong Kong has announced a cash handout of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars. USA $250 for citizens, $250 billion for citizens. Handouts, right? Cash handouts. Second step, what we need is a loan guarantee. Manufacturing, services sector first, then manufacturing is also going to get affected because of this quarantine and this disruption. So the most important thing is cash flows. There are so many companies, they will struggle with cash flow. If people will not find money in ATMs, then they will get in panic mode, right? If they have a little bit of money in their pocket, then that will create a sort of sense of security. So enough cash should be available, right? Liquidity should be available, and the priority should be to keep businesses liquid. Britain has pledged 330 billion pounds, France 300 billion euros, Spain 100 billion euros aid, right, for loan guarantees and for loans and other sort of guarantees, government-backed guarantees. Then we need mortgage holidays. Mortgage holiday basically means for next 3 months, let's say, you don't have to pay your installments. The bank will not cut money from whatever amount you have in your bank. The company will not collect EMI from you. But this is possible if government passes a import. Of course, it will create some sort of losses as well for companies. But for time being, this is the best thing that we can do. There should be a mortgage holiday. It is better that people have this money in their banks rather than, because many people may struggle with their salaries. They will not get salaries on time. So extra money in their bank account or extra money with them is going to be helpful. They can always use this digital transfer to pay to someone if they have to for some emergency, in case things go out of control. Kerala has already announced a 20,000 crore rupees package, and I'm sure other states are going to do the same. And we need also a well-structured, tax-efficient bond for the future, because this economic impact is there. We know it very well that it's going to disturb. It has already disturbed our economy, and it will take a bit of time for the whole world to come out from this negative impact of this coronavirus. But there are so many ways, there are so many ways through which we can sort these things out. Like, for example, back in 1998, post-Pokhran era, sanctions were applied on our country. So at that point of time, State Bank of India came out with this resurgent India bond. And State Bank of India raised $4 billion from non-resident Indians against all odds to help India tide over immediate impact of sanctions. So we can do the same thing. If money is a problem for the government, if revenue falls down, then we can come out with this sort of bonds and other things. But for now, it is very important that we follow our authorities, and I'm sure authorities will look after our economy and everything. Then we'll talk about crime and punishment. Nirbhaya's mother has given this statement that women will now feel safe to an extent. Families will start teaching their boys that the punishment of a crime will be severe. This sort of crime will be severe. And again, right, yes, we will see a difference, and there is a visible difference in our society as well. But there are so many things that we have to do. Yesterday, we were talking about this thing. Remember, last bit of our discussion was based on these things, like what are the things that we need to do as a society. Now, the most important thing that we need to consider is that it took nearly 7 years, right, for this whole case to reach to its logical conclusion, and 7-8 years roughly. And this is one of the most important lesson for us, that we need to have a fast-track courts, and just a fast-track court is not going to be enough. We have to create this whole criminal justice system. We need police reforms. Like, for example, Justice J.S. Verma Committee recommended police reforms and things associated with marital rape and other things. But not all things were taken on board, after this rape case of Nirbhaya. This Criminal Law Amendment Act was amended. Now, there are people who believe that death penalty is the only solution, but that's not always right. Emotionally, the first thing that comes in my mind as well is to hang these people, this type of Nirbhaya rape case convicts who are no more now, right? So the first thing, if you ask anyone, they will say that yes, even the judges, they will say the same thing, that they should be hanged. That's an emotional response, of course. But can it create results? The answer is no. Death penalty, and if I'm not saying, I'm saying this thing, if you go through some reports or findings on death penalty is not a deterrence when it comes to this sort of rapes or murders. Like for murder, right, death penalty has always been there, but that has not stopped human beings from doing murders. So Justice Verma Committee recommended that rather than death penalty, life imprisonment, a rigorous life imprisonment is going to be more painful for a person, it will be a very severe punishment. The whole life that person will think about, and he will repent, and he not feel great about that thing. So the death penalty could actually encourage a rapist to kill the victim, and this is true as well. In many findings, we have seen that the crime will not end just with a rape. It will go to another level. That criminal will kill the victim. So because he knows that if that criminal will stay alive, then things are going to be bad. But he will kill the victim. Even rape, death penalty, killing the victim, death penalty. So he will kill the victim to hide that crime. So this is a big problem with this death penalty. But again, rarest of rare. We have this rarest of the rare clause in our Criminal Law Amendment Act, but we find that due to peer pressure, this pressure of public and media and everything, society's pressure. At the end of the day, judges are also human beings. So we have seen in many cases they have avoided a death penalty. But if we go through the results, right, if we go through the facts and figures, we find that in fact numbers are going up. Now, one reason behind it is more awareness is one of the reasons why numbers are going up. At the same time, it is sad as well that numbers are going up, and I'm sure in our country we know that there are so many cases they don't get reported as well. Like victims, they don't go to police because they will lost everything in society. So because of fear of that thing, there is a reality as well. Like even today, our society will blame victims when it comes to this sort of cases, rape cases or some sort of eve teasing or something else. Then the society will ask questions to girls like why you were outside after 7 p.m. and things like that, So because of these things, there are so many girls, they don't report this sort of cases, and this will boost confidence of all those criminals. So as a society, as a Indian leaders, policymakers, society, we need to improve, right? We need to have this 180 degree turn in our perspective, how we take things, and gender equality. We have to work from individual, family, societal level. Then we will see some sort of changes. That's what I think. Moving on to news items. Kamal Nath resigns ahead of floor test. BJP set to form a government. Singer's COVID-19 status has politicians worried. And it is also said that leaders who attended events of this Kanika Kapoor, they met the president as well. So that's a sad thing. Means I'm not sure what next steps government will take or this medical authorities will take, but I'm sure they will check the president as well if he is infected or not. God bless him. 236 positive cases. PM holds meeting with CMs. Then foreign dealers bought ideal stones from Tamil Nadu. This is about Chola bronze idol. You should know the things about Chola kingdom and Chola art and culture. You can find question on this thing. So do go through this article and this news item, and then go through some basics as well if you don't know about this Chola bronze. So, or whenever you are studying history, make sure you pay attention to this thing. No train to run on Janta curfew. Lok Sabha passes bill on national importance tag for IIITs. And last one is Italy's stall hits another one-day record. Very sad for Italy. Good news coming from Wuhan that Wuhan reports no new cases for first time since COVID-19 outbreak began. And that's everything in today's discussion, dear friends. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do share this lecture with other students. God bless you all. Jai Hind.